Our extended focus on the conversation we initiated yesterday here on the morning show. We're now been joined by Dr. Austin Tam George, a communications consultant, good governance advocate, and former Rivers State Commissioner for Information. Good to have you, Dr. Tam George.
Good to see you,
Good
Steve.
morning. Good to see you.
Good morning.
Yeah, I'm sure that you've been having a ball since you left government, quite a while back.
Oh,
in
yeah.
Rivers State.
Yeah.
Now let's talk about your state. I know that this state means quite a lot to you. You served in government. I believe that was the first term of Nyesom Wike when he was governor in his first term.
Correct.
But you left midway at a point. A lot has happened in Rivers State. Lately, 6 months of emergency rule. The governor is back, and everybody is talking peace. It looks like the two gladiators, the governor himself, Sim Fubara, and then Nyesom Wike, who's the FCT minister, are saying that, listen, we've made up. We're back to where we were before March 2025, and that will give peace a chance. Do you believe in all these promises, and do you think that peace has finally come to Rivers State after the 6 months hiatus of the state of emergency?
Yes, I think so. I mean, the governor in his statewide broadcast to the state set a very good conciliatory tone when he said that that he's back and is going to work with every strata of the democratic structure to make sure that they deliver service to the people. Steve, ultimately, even if there are political disagreements, the bottom line is always to look out for over 8 million people that are resident in the state. And I'm quite happy that not just the governor, even the minister and members of the State Assembly, have committed, to working together to put the interest of the people first and to deliver service to the people of the state. So I'm very happy, with the change of tone, the commitment to work together and to put the interest of the people first.
All right, well, that's a great way to start. The tone, the commitment to put the people first. But now let's go to the governance of Rivers State. Dr. Tam George, this is a time where we are seeing it's very evident that the issues that happened in Rivers State stem from, the concept of godfatherism. In fact, we had an interview yesterday that spoke to that, where Governor Sim Fubara and his seeming godfather had a disagreement, his godfather being Nyesom Wike. And as a result of that, they couldn't come to an agreement. And there's been that advice of, you cannot disrespect the people that put you in power. So, do better next time. Now, seeing that he is back, what's your assessment of how democracy will proceed in Rivers State? Do you think that it can run as an independent institution, or there would always be that influence moving forward?
Before the return of the government after the 6 months of suspension, expectations were very high in terms of delivery of services. For instance, the government was already working to bring on stream over 100 primary healthcare centers in Rivers State to boost healthcare delivery in the state. Now that the government is back, Rivers State is open for business. We expect that those primary healthcare centers that are closest to the people will now be back on stream and begin to serve the people. My own sense is that when you go to Rivers State, the people are looking forward now. Nobody's is willing to look through the rear view mirror. Everybody wants to look forward to see that the ground that has been lost, by the state over these past 6 months, are recovered. We want to make sure that, we bring back education. For instance, we've seen before the emergency rule, we saw that the government was very frantic in trying to bring back education. The governor had committed to to employing about 3,000 teachers before the emergency came. I expect and I suspect that most Rivers people now expect that those teachers will be hired and deployed to rural areas to revamp education in the education sector. We also have, I think, for the first time, a working contributory healthcare system in the state. Governor Fubara was very far-sighted in concluding the arrangement for it for the government to kickstart that process. We expect that now that the government is back, the contributory healthcare system will be back. There is a very strong commitment on the part of the government to open up Rivers State. The governor had, committed over 200 billion naira to open the Trans-Calabar corridor to expand opportunities in that area. We expect that now that the governor is back and his team, there will be a great deal of focus on development. So I believe that this renewed commitment to deliver service to the people will ultimately be good for the state.
Well, I mean, when you say that the governor is back with his team, you make it sound a bit like, it will be it will be an easy run. But we know that in politics, as beautiful as good governance might be, we know that in politics, certain things do stand in the way. We are aware, for example, that the House of Assembly, where the governor does not control the majority, is already saying that he will have to represent the budget for 2025, even though we're left with about 3 months because it was not properly presented. He will also have to present the list of commissioners to the House that they will have to approve, as it is done elsewhere. Do you think that the governor is coming weaker, or will he be able to navigate the delicate lines to be able to push his desires through? Because if House of Assembly decides to frustrate his moves, many of the things that you are mentioning will stagnate without the approval of the House of Assembly. So with 27 of them haven't gone in code to APC, the governor is still, as of today, a member of the PDP. It controls less than 3 or 4 of the House of Assembly. The commissioners that he will have to pick, we're not sure if it will, if all of them will fly. If politics comes in between, stands in the way for the governor, how much of this do you think that he will be able to get through?
No, I think if there is, as I said in the introduction, if there is now a commitment on the part of all parties, including members of the Assembly, the governor, there should be no problem, working together. And that is why I believe that, this commitment to work together should not only be at the rhetorical level, but should find practical manifestation on the ground. My suspicion is that, the past is now effectively behind us. If the governor is going to present the appropriation bill, Steve, you've been in government. This is an administrative prerogative of the governor, and I'm even wondering if he needs to represent that, because we know that during the 6-month suspension period, the president himself, Mr. President, actually signed an appropriation bill into law in 2025, which administratively can in fact be able to run up to March 2026. So I believe that the emphasis now is not so much on the appropriation, because there is a law concerning expenditures and revenue collection in Rivers State that started with Mr. Bass, the sole administrator who is now gone. So I think that what they need to do now is to, work within this renewed spirit of togetherness and unity. If the governor wants to present a list of commissioners, as I understand it, there are commissioners now that constitute the state cabinet. But if he wants to represent a list, it's very easy to work with members of the Assembly to say, look, I want to rejig my team now as we approach the next phase of the administration. And that these are the new members of the new nominees for the post. And I think that being all Rivers people, we can only be hopeful that they will, they'll be able to work together and achieve the kind of progress we want to see. Rivers State is a very dynamic state. In fact, since 1958, the state has returned, very good, investment opportunities for those who want to invest. For instance, in the housing sector, I stay in Lagos, I see the opportunities here in the housing sector, but Rivers State is still, the real estate sector is almost virgin. given the coastal character of the state, if you fly over Florida in the U.S. and elsewhere, that has the same coastal character that we have, you see that Rivers State has very vast opportunities for investment in the real estate sector. So I expect that now that the peace has returned, investors will begin to look very critically at Rivers State and say, look, what new opportunities are there? There is now some predictability in the way the administration is going to run. How much investment can we bring into this sector? If you remember, Steve, there was a time just before the emergency rule when the Landmark Group was ready to, I think, spend as much as 20 billion naira to try to revamp the tourism sector. So this is now an opportunity for more investors, to get into the real estate sector, the tourism sector and all that, to take advantage of what is happening. So I believe that we no longer should look, into the rear view mirror and then focus on what is coming ahead. We have one of the most vibrant educational systems in the country. It can only get better if they decide actually to work together, and I hope that will be the case going forward.
Emphasis on working together, I think that's the most important thing. And you've listed so many things that, could shape the next couple of months and possibly, 2 years, if at all, this is a one-term journey or maybe a two-term journey for Governor Fubara. We don't know that at this time. However, what would you say is priority at this time? Most important for the ripple of Rivers, considering it's been 6 months of no democracy, it's been 6 months of the people uncertain as to where they stand and what is available for them. The primary purpose of the governor coming into power is not all this political rigmaroles that we're seeing. It is the people. It's to ensure that he can provide and safeguard life and property, build better infrastructure, implement policies that will better the lives of the people. So looking at the time that is left, what would you say should be paramount for the governor at this time?
The governor actually has a very strong focus on agriculture. Before the emergency rule, as I understand it, some Israeli investors were already trying to turn the Songhai farm that was established, try to turn the sector around by bringing in more investment, try to bring back food sustainability in the sector. So I hope now, that new, investors will enter that place with some renewed vigor and try to bring back the agricultural sector. He also has mentioned repeatedly that he wants to go beyond the cosmetics or simply revamping schools. There's a commitment to rethink the curriculum of education in Rivers State to see that there is now a strong emphasis on skill acquisition so that when students come from those centers of learning, whether they are technical schools or whether they are in the polytechnics or universities, they will be industry ready. So I hope, that there will be this renewed attention paid to the sector in education. I think he also wants to recalibrate the civil service to modernize it, to professionalize it. Despite the disruptions that we've seen in the past 6 months, I hope that they will now refocus on how to bring greater service delivery and accountability to the public sector. In terms of healthcare delivery, I already mentioned that the tertiary healthcare sector, for instance, that hadn't seen a lot of action in the past years, now in all the senatorial zones have tertiary hospitals, general hospitals that the governor was already beginning to bring back, coupled with the over 120 primary healthcare centers. I think that there is going to be a great deal of action going forward. And when I listened to the governor's broadcast, I could see that there's a sense of urgency to try to accelerate service delivery. My appeal to all stakeholders, is that we should put our state first. The truth is that we've lost quite a bit of ground during this crisis, and Rivers people cannot wait to move forward. And I think that this commitment to work together should crystallize on the ground.
Absolutely, but we also know that by next year, politics will come early. No matter what you plan for 2026, which will be an important year for most of the governors in office today, politics will come early. By this time next year, primaries will have held. The governor will know whether he will be running or he won't be. You and I know that if he won't be running, most likely he will be needed to support whoever his party or whichever party decides to team with, chooses. What do you think should be the governor's tactical and strategic approach to the very important year of 2026, given that his political future somehow will be determined at that time? How much of trust do you think that he should put in the man that he personally, at least twice in his speech last week, described as his leader, Nyesom Wike? You worked with him. You probably have an idea of how his mind works. How much of tact do you think that the governor will need to put in so that the politics does not rob him of the sort of legacy that he will be looking for in 2026, 2027?
What in my own understanding of how the governor operates is that he is not obsessed with power. He is not really interested in the politics of what is going on. I believe that he is a person who is focused on his legacy. He believes that if he's able to deliver service in a life-changing way, in a way that materially changes the circumstances of the Rivers people, every other thing is going to fall in place. I remember that when he emerged from the aircraft and eventually got to the government house 2 days ago, one major statement he made, which I think has resonance on the ground, was that, look, we will continue to do the things, that made you to support us so organically. So what I suspect he means by that is that, look, I'm not going to be interested in the mechanics of politics. Rather, I'm going to be focused exclusively on service delivery. And if you deliver service, Steve, to over 8 million people, and they can see that their material circumstances are changing, and that young people who are desirous of getting jobs are getting jobs, and that people who go into schools are emerging with competence and they're able to create jobs and they are industry ready, if people can see that they have food sustainability in the state, these are the markers of development. And if the governor can focus and actually deliver service on a sector-by-sector basis, I think that the mechanics of politics will sort out themselves in future. But my own sense, reading the governor's speech and, generally knowing the trajectory the administration has traveled despite the turbulence, my sense is that the governor is self-sacrificial. He's not interested in putting politics first. He seems to be very committed in service delivery, and I suspect that going down the road in 2026, the chips will fall where they may. He simply will point to his record to say, look, this was what I met on the ground, and this is what the realities are. So I believe that this development-oriented politics that puts the interest of the people first is ultimately going to be the decider going forward. I try not to project into what is likely to happen, in the next 2 or so years, because only God knows who is going to wake up tomorrow morning. Politicians are extremely optimistic people. But I think the most important emphasis at this point should be to say, how can we make the social contract between the government and the people stronger, and what are the things that we can do? We must make sure that those who are looking for jobs, get jobs. How can we make sure we bring back economic development to the state? Because ultimately, these are the things that will power the engine of growth. I think that the politics should be left to politicians. Now that he's in office, he must meet the moment and deliver service to the people.
All right. I mean, it's just such a shame that we really have to go because of time. But then if push comes to shove, just very quickly, and cabinet will be rejigged in Rivers State, and then you are called upon, will it be positive or?
I already hold office as a citizen of Rivers State. I've been in the State Executive Council. I've seen it, at the front row. The most important thing is not what office you hold, but whether you can contribute your bit wherever you are, especially Nigerians in the diaspora. This is a time when we need ideas that can be put forward, to the government to make sure that ultimately the people's interest is held as supreme.
Fantastic, Dr. Austin Tam George, former Honorable Commissioner for Information, Rivers State. We want to thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you indeed.